Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to work on solving equations and inequalities. All of these are going to just be one-step inequations and inequalities, so we can really focus on sort of the mechanics of what's happening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison just so we can kind of see what's going to happen and we can see some of the differences. So first thing I want to do is I want to kind of throw a little bit of a curveball here. I want to go 3 plus x is equal to negative 5. And then over here I'm going to go with 3 plus x is less than negative 5. All right, so now when we're working on solving our equations or inequalities, the goal is to get this variable all by itself. And so what we need to do is ask ourselves what's happening to the variable on the same side as it. And what we have here is we have this extra 3 that's there. And it's a positive 3, so what I want to do is I want to subtract 3. Okay, and one thing I always suggest is that you use a mirror line when you're getting started with this whole solving process, and you have to mirror whatever you do on one side to the other side. And so now you have x is equal to negative 5 minus 3, which is negative 8. And then you have the same thing here. X is less than negative 8. All right, now when it comes to inequalities, we can go one step further and we can draw a graph of it. And the way I like to draw my graphs is I'll make a number line, I'll put the number in question, and then I have to look and I have to go with an open circle or a closed circle. Here I'll go with an open circle, and I'm going to go to the left that way. And the reason I'm going to the left is I want values that are smaller than 8. I want things that are less than 8. And if we look at the numbers that are over here, I have 0, which is less than 8. If I were to go on this side, I'd have something like 16. That's greater than 8. So I don't want that. So there's one example of how we do this. Let's do a couple more. All right, so now new color here. For an equation, let's say we have something like, what should I do here? Let's go x over negative 4 is equal to negative 3. And then over here, I'm going to go with x over negative 4 is greater than or equal to negative 3. So same thing, I want to ask myself, what's happening to my x? And on both sides, we are dividing by negative 4. So what I need to do is I need to do the opposite of that. So since I'm dividing by negative 4, I want to times by negative 4, and those two essentially cancel each other out. So I'm going to times by negative 4. I'm going to times by negative 4. I'm going to do that here as well. So times by negative 4, times by negative 4. And these cancel each other out, so I just have x equals negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. That's my lone answer right there. Here, I have one extra rule. So I've multiplied by a negative value. Whenever I do that, I need to flip my inequality. So instead of having greater than, my inequality is now going to become less than or equal to. I'll still have x, and then I'm going to have positive 12. All right, I could say I'm done with this, but again, I should probably come up with a graph. So I'll put a value. I'll go with 12. And then here I'll put 0, here I'll put 24. And again, I want values that are less than. But now, since it's less than or equal to, I will do a closed circle and go to the left. All right, and keep in mind, there's the arrow trick. If your variable is on the left-hand side like it is here, you can make a little arrow, and it's pointing to which way the graph ought to go. Okay, let's do one final example. Let's try to do something that's really kind of tricky and confusing and might throw you for a bit of a loop here. All right, so let's go with negative 1/2 plus x is equal to, let's just keep it real easy here. Let's go with 2. And then over here, we'll have 2 is going to be greater than negative 1/2 plus x. All right, these problems are very similar, but I'm just choosing to write them in a different way so that way we can kind of see what's going on and how we can analyze it. So now, both of these are being added by negative 1/2. So there's two ways I can think about this. Adding negative 1/2 is the same thing as subtracting 1/2, or if I'm adding negative 1/2, I could also subtract negative 1/2 to kind of undo that, which boils down to adding 1/2 to both sides. And when I write it like this, I add 1/2, I add 1/2, you can see how that cancels it out, and that's great. And I got to make sure I do it on both sides. And so here I have, some fractions, and it is what it is. But real easily, x is just going to be 2.5. Box it, walk away. Now over here it gets a little more complicated. Here we'll have 2.5 is greater than x. And again, I should graph it to show all my answers, all my solutions. So I put 2.5 on the number line. It doesn't matter, again, if this is a decimal, a whole number, a fraction, the process is the same. I'll have 0 on the left, I'll have 5 on the right, so smaller on the left, larger on the right. But here I can't use my arrow trick because the variable is on the right-hand side. So I have an option. I can rewrite this. And so I'm going to go x, and I'll have 2.5 over here. But now I want the pointy side still facing x, so notice how the pointy sides are going towards x. And so that is less than. So open circle going to the left like that. And so there are a few examples for how we can solve one-step equations and inequalities. I hope this has been enlightening and it's kind of helped maybe clarify any issues you've been having. If not, please let me know if you have any questions.